some passion. Rubber band and the money that keeps stacking. Got a honey who come with elite fashion. She too fine, I tell her that thing magic. You ain't a hustle, you broke, well that seems tragic. Gotta catch in the field like deep passes.
What is going on, sports fans, football fans, it's Bills fans, Jets fans, AFC East fans? It's your boy Jay Smith the King, and I am back with the Chop Up crew. I got my man, it's the full crew is on deck today. I got my man Antoine Staley. I got the homeboy Steros for the girls is back too. These boys it was me last week. I ain't even gonna put it on them. It was me last week. I am happy to see y'all. I'm happy to be back. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holiday, Happy Kwanzaa. Anything that may be celebrated at this time, happy to that. What is going on, fellas? What's up, Twan?
Hey, how you doing?
Man, I'm here. I'm here. Last week I was sick as a dog, man. There was no way I could do the show, but I appreciate y'all being flexible with me, and Steros was good with you.
Hey man, it's all good over here in Denver. We got a foot of snow last night. But I'm ready for this Michigan game coming up in a few days though. I ain't gonna lie. It's going down.
He talking about a foot of snow. Buffalo, everybody in Buffalo right now, like, man, whatever.
I know, right? If that's a Dustin in Buffalo.
We would prefer a foot in Buffalo. So, well, before we move on, actually talking about that, I do want to say, just to anybody who has been affected by that storm, I know now, I was just texting my sister, and I believe the count is up to 38 deaths in Buffalo because of this storm. Anybody who's been affected by that, or any family members who may be listening or anything like that, our prayers go out to you. We hope that, just whatever it is that you guys need to heal, it can get in motion, because that, I can't believe the storm. But hey, let's get into it. There's not a lot of good. Before we went live here, I was talking to the fellas, and I'm like, yo, there's not a lot of good games on this weekend's, on the schedule to talk about. So we're just going to round out the AFC East, and then we'll talk a little bit about the quarterback carousel that's happening at the end of the year. We'll talk about the coachings that, the coach that got fired were out in Sterling's backyard. And then we could figure, just chop it up. That's what the show is for. We're gonna chop it up. So let's start off with the quarterback changes and stuff like that. What is that like? So Antoine, I don't know how public he talks about this or not, but Antoine's team growing up, I feel like, and your favorite team is the Vegas Raiders, right? Are they still your favorite team?
Well, they're the Los Angeles Raiders when I was growing up, but yeah.
Okay, he was a Cube fan.
Back then, yeah.
NWA, all right. but so now the Raiders, man, they've been going through some things. My man Josh Jacobs came out, and you could tell last week he was visibly ticked off, like I feel like he should be. But so there was coaching changing this week, or not coaching. I'm sorry, quarterback change this week. Are we done with Derek Carr out there, or is this just kind of like, the end of the season is here? We're not going. It don't matter. Let's just go ahead and switch it up.
Yeah, they're done, because you don't want him getting hurt, because if he gets hurt, then that activates the clause in his contracts that he would get all that money guaranteed. So the way you have him, possibly traded or released in this case is if you just bubble wrap him for 2 weeks. I mean, the Raiders was technically still alive for the playoffs, but they would literally have to have everybody lose in front of them, and then they would have to win. They would have to win their last two, that's obviously we know that's not going to happen. So the Raiders are going to be eliminated, and yeah, I think it's the right move. I mean, look, he's been there 9 years. He's done some really good things there. But the fact of the matter is they've made the playoffs twice since he's been there. I know he was having the MVP season in like 2016 before he got hurt. It was unfortunate that, he ended up suffering that injury. But, I feel like, last year they ended up making the playoffs, and they decided to ride with him for this year under Josh McDaniels. But, things just hadn't worked out. It's not all his fault. I think, a lot of it is Darren Waller wasn't necessarily healthy. Also, Hunter Renfrow there. The offensive line is not very good. But the fact of the matter is, I just think it's time. Like, when you spend that much of a time at one place, sometimes it's good for both sides to move on. And I think in his case, and also in the Raiders' case, it's probably a good time to move on, considering the circumstances that they're facing.
My dad is a huge Raiders fan as well, and like you could just see the disgust like in his face when we talk, and it's just, because I think this year, the way he talks about them and the way most Raiders fans I know, is like most years you can almost say there's no excuse, but like this year coming into it, I get that they have a new coach who I don't think is good. I think the coach is the biggest problem, if I'm being honest. But when you have a new coach, I get that certain things. I get it. But the way I look at it is like, look, Derek Carr had probably, I know stats don't say it this year, but you have the best receiver, second, third best receiver in football. His skills didn't diminish 1 year after leaving Green Bay.
He still had a great year. He's still having a really good year, actually.
He had a really good year. But I mean, like when you just look at, when you break down route running, break down ability. I know Justin Jefferson's eating this year. I know Tyreek Hill is doing his thing. But if anybody were to say Devontae Adams in their mind is still the best receiver in football, he just hasn't had a consistent play at quarterback, I wouldn't argue him, because Devontae, you don't lose that skill in one season like that. So you have that. You got the guy that's leading the league in rushing, at the top of the league in rushing right now. I know Waller's been injured, but you got one of the best tight ends in football. I just don't feel like there was much of an excuse this year when it comes to the weapons. Some people can use weapons as an excuse. Derek Carr can't.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I said, some of those guys were hurt, including, like I say, Hunter Renfrow as well. But yeah, I just think you look at his career, I think it's very polarizing for Raider fans because he's an enigma. Like, I think that's probably the best way to describe it. That, he's done some good things there, had some good moments, but also he's had some head scratching moments too. A lot of the time when he's been in the Raider uniform, you look at just games this year, and it's not his fault the Raiders are blown the number of leads that they have. Not all his fault anyway. I mean, obviously the defense plays a role in that too, but I think just you look at the game against the Rams. That was a game they should have won. I mean, you look at had an opportunity to score a touchdown before halftime, or at least get 3 points. Then he threw a boneheaded interception. That ended up being the difference in the game, really. And then look at some of the other games. Look at the Pittsburgh game. He didn't necessarily play well, particularly in the second half either. So yeah, there's been instances where I feel like he has played well at times, but just not well enough. And I think that's where we at as far as Derek Carr. That's his career. Like, he's been, average to above average. And I think at a certain point you just need, a change at the quarterback position. And he also could go somewhere else. Like, I know a lot of people talked about the Jets being a possible destination spot, and that might not be a bad idea. I mean, if he was on the Jets this year, I mean, I think they're a surefire playoff team, to be honest with you. But they have a really bad situation at quarterback right now.
What about Miami? I'm just saying, like, if Tua, I get that some people are saying no, he probably shouldn't retire. I'm the guy. And listen, this is not because it's in the division. I said the same thing about our center, Mitch Morris. He's now had his 6th concussion in his 8-year career, and I wrote last week that he should be looking to hang it up. So when I say this, I'm not doing this just because Tua is in our division. But at some point, when you have 3 concussions in 1 year, you got to think that maybe it might be time to care about your health. What about Derek Carr? Maybe down in Miami, and this is just throwing crap at the wall, hoping it sticks.
I'm sure he's gonna have some opportunities, but I think they're gonna stick with Tua, at least for now. I mean, they're gonna have do you pick up his 5th year? I think you do. I think you at least pick up his 5th year option, and then just see after that, and then that way you can determine it after his 5 years are up. Then you can decide, well, is this the guy? This is not the guy, and then move on. But yeah, I don't know if they're necessarily ready to give up on Tua just yet. But yeah, it's the clock is ticking, definitely, for sure.
Sterles, so I know we're talking about the quarterback situation out in Vegas, but then I kind of want to pivot a little bit because, I mean, there isn't much more to say about the Raiders situation. I want to pivot now to the team that you live closest to, and I'm not going to say your team because I know your team is the Bills, but the Broncos, man. So this week, you've had players finally start to say, you know what, I'm tired of looking at this stuff that y'all saying about Russell Wilson. And you're seeing Judy stick up for him, Hamlin stick up for him. You got these players that's coming out saying like, no, he does have an office, but he has an office because he's dedicated to the game, and it's not like he's separate. How do you read that? Do you read that as like, hey, this is damage control, or is this like really the boys saying like, no, this is my dude, and I get it, we losing right now, so it's rough, but like how do you view all of the media attention that we saw this week for Russell Wilson?
It's smokescreen. I think they got to say that because that's their boy. I feel like, when you look at who are we going to place blame on, I think it's with Russ and Nate Hackett. They had time to get this together and they didn't do it. Russell Wilson hasn't been playing very well at all. I mean, Nate Hackett can't make him see the field, right? You get Russ out there and he's missing reads and he just looks uncomfortable in offense. So I think the blame goes both ways. And then, when I look at the whole season in total and kind of how Russell has carried himself with the media, man, it just doesn't, from a leadership perspective, it just, it doesn't smell right. So, yeah, it makes sense that his guys are going to come defend him because they stuck with him. I don't see Russell Wilson going anywhere anytime soon, but I think they made the right choice of firing Nate Hackett. I just feel like, Russell has to get it together. I don't feel like he forgot how to play football. I just think there's they got to figure out what it is that makes him comfortable in that environment, that situation, and just hope to God that he can produce next season.
I think he's that's how he's always been though. Like he was like that in Seattle too. Yeah, I feel like he was not playing wise. I feel like personality wise, he was always like that. Like, it's just that they were winning. So nobody really called attention to it. Go back and look at
there's a difference,
teammates. Yeah, go back to talk to his teammates in Seattle. It's a reason why, he's distant from a lot of those. That's why Richard Sherman and Marshawn Lynch don't necessarily rock with him because he was acting a certain way. They were winning though, but people didn't bring attention to that.
But he had other
wait, hold on, because I'm sorry, I don't, and this is I get maybe personally, and I don't know him personally to say this, but I don't like Richard Sherman. I feel like Sherm,
I don't necessarily either, but yeah,
it's one thing to be honest about, like when he was a player and he had that fiery thing. Now the way he flips, like he's media now, and the way he's talking about Russ and the way he's talking about other players, sometimes I feel like it's a bit too much. It's a step too far. And like, look, first of all, like, okay, remember a couple months ago at the beginning of the season when he's like, run the ball, and he's screaming on Thursday Night Football and all that stuff. Listen, did Russ call that play in the Super Bowl? Just tell me.
No, not at all.
Is it on the quarterback at that point in his career, at the biggest game of your career, to call the offensive play at the last drive of the game? The call was on Russ?
Well, no, not at all.
So why is Richard Sherman screaming at Russell about this instead of screaming at the coach? Like, scream at the coaching staff. Don't come on there and make this whole, like, now it's fun to beat down on Russ because he's burning all the cooking. They say let Russ cook. He's burning everything. I get it. They're not winning. It don't look good. But don't beat the man while he's down about something that wasn't even his fault. Like, and I get your point when you're like, he was acting a certain way out there. But when he was winning, nobody was talking like this. When he was winning.
Point. Yeah, that's my point. This is always who he's been. The only reason people are bringing attention to it because they're not winning. So when you're not winning, then people are trying to figure out reasons for that. And then, like I said, he didn't really get along with a lot of his teammates out there in Seattle. It's just that, again, they were winning, so people just kind of brushed it to the side. If you remember the Golden Tate situation with, his ex-wife, I won't get into details. You can find out about that. But, it is... Yeah, it was a lot of different, things going on, like with Russell Wilson. The fact of the matter is he didn't forget how to play football. I think, part of it is him. He's not playing well. I think also the offensive line isn't very good for Denver. And, it's a big mess. And the teammates, they're just not getting along. And then you get completely embarrassed on Christmas on a national stage like that. You had to fire
Baker Mayfield. You get beat out by bum ass Baker Mayfield.
Not even that, but just like 51 points. Like your defense gives up 51 points, and that defense was elite. Their defense was not elite, but it was really good. It's one of the best defenses in the game.
I got something to say, bro. Y'all are missing some points, man.
Go ahead.
This is the first time in his career I feel like where Russ has had to carry it. from a leadership and locker room perspective. Because when you have guys like Bobby Wagner, your head coach Pete Carroll, Richard Sherman, those guys, Marshawn Lynch, those guys were able to corral a locker room. I think putting that added pressure on him, and it's kind of not, I like Russell Wilson the person, but it's kind of like a fake persona. It appears when you look at it from the outside looking in, the way he kind of cheesy and corny, the way he leads and stuff. I think, that added pressure. And then the other factors that you guys mentioned about the offensive line, no running game. You got, young receiver and Jerry Jeudy still trying to find his way. Cortland Sutton, and Hamlin. Hamlin. It's just it's a mess. It's a recipe for disaster. So they got to get it together out here, man.
Yeah,
sure.
I feel like also, like, I think some people are saying this confirms what a lot of people already knew about Russell Wilson, is that kind of what your point is, he can't carry a team. Like, as you remember, like, the book on him early on was like he was good, but the defense were the reason why they were winning, those games early on in his career. And then he can't, that's maybe the reason why he's never won an MVP. I'm not fair. But no, look, I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying, like, that's what certain people are saying. I think it's a compliment. I think he played well. I think the defense also played well. But, I think people are really taking shots at him fairly or unfairly right now. But, that's just kind of the reality of it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like because the last few years, it hasn't been the Legion of Boom out there. So, like, before he got traded to Denver, now he fell off at the end of the year, but you got to look at,
he was hurt last year too.
But not just last year. I mean, if you look at the last 3 years prior to this season, he always had, like, early on, people were like, oh man, why hasn't Russ gotten an MVP vote? The way he plays in the first 10, 11 weeks of the season, it was always, like, amazing. And then he, like, towards the end of the year, he disappears. I know last year he was injured, but then he falls off. But what I'm saying is, to be fair, is like he plays, not this year, he plays the quarterback position well. He's one of those guys where before it seemed like the deep ball was one of the prettiest deep balls in the league. Pause. He did a lot of things right until the end of the season. Now it's just fun to beat up on him. I just don't. I'm not a Russ fan, but it's like, now I'm reading all of this stuff as y'all talking. I'm pulling all this stuff up to kind of bring up another point here and there. And it's just like, yo, people just love to dog this dude when in reality, he's the same dude he's been. And last year they was loving him. Point. He was doing these little corny ass things with Sierra, these little memes and stuff, and everybody was laughing. Oh, he's so now all of a sudden, because they're not winning, they like to dog him.
And also you're at a new place too. So whenever you at a new place, you're starting over. Yeah. Like, he started, like, nothing that he did in Seattle really matters anymore to Denver fans. Like, they could care less about what happened there. They care about what happened from the point he got traded until now. And, what's in between there is not very good. So that's what they care about right now. Like, whatever happened in Seattle is history. Like, what's going on now is, the Broncos see him in a different light. Broncos fans see him in a different light. They feel like he might be corny, but also they think he just flat out suck right now. I mean, you can't really, deny that whatsoever. And I think, to your point too, also to kind of wrap this up, like, you were saying he got off the early starts and kind of faded a little bit early. I think people were saying, with this offense and the weapons that they have, they felt like he was in a better spot than what he was in Seattle. But come to find out, that's certainly not the case there. He's in a worse situation than he probably ever was with the Seahawks.
well, Charles, let me ask you this, because weapons wise, I don't think that's the case. I don't think any of those guys out there are Metcalf. Obviously,
but they got some deep other players that are decent too.
I think they got good players. I don't think the Denver Broncos by any means are bad. I feel like, they're not winning, so they look bad. Am I the only one that really feels like coaching truly matters in the league? Because I feel like it comes down to the fact when you can have some of the most talented dudes in, like, man, you can't tell me a good coach couldn't come with that roster. Because previously, like before last year, the whole thing was all they need is a quarterback, right? They had a good defense. They had a good few, like, young weapons and good line, good running back. And that's another thing. The running back is out with a severe knee injury. He probably won't be back through halfway next season.
Right.
Javonte Williams is one of the best running backs in the league. He's been without him this year. So, I mean, I'm not saying it like that's an excuse, but what I'm saying is it's like, it's not like things are perfect out there outside of Russ. I don't know. I have a tough time beating down on this dude right now, man. I just really do.
Well, add 5 years, $242 million in your thought process there, because that's what they're paying him or have to pay him contractually.
Okay. I know I just asked you that, and now I'm cutting you off that quick. I'm sorry. And say that was to happen in Buffalo, right? Say like we paid Josh Allen all this money, and then say Stephon Diggs. I'm knocking on every piece of wood here. I'm not even gonna say the words. Y'all know what I'm implying. So say something happened to Diggs, and then Josh is out there without his best offensive weapon, because that's what Javonte Williams is in Denver. Am I right or wrong? If I'm wrong, I'll back up.
Yeah, Javonte is
he's the best. So then you don't have Sean McDermott. You have Rex Ryan out there with Josh Allen. And you mean to tell me we're gonna beat up on Josh Allen with everything that he's doing?
Well, yeah.
Well, that's a different situation.
They do it now.
That's
they beat up on Josh Allen now. When he throws 2 interceptions against the Bears, they beat up on him.
To play devil's advocate, that's a different situation because Josh Allen he didn't go somewhere else and now starting over. Like, if he would have a bad season, I think people would give him the benefit of the doubt if those things happen in the same place. When you go somewhere different, again, you're starting over. He started over, like with a new coaching staff, new players, and nobody's giving him the benefit of the doubt. Like, to make your point, like Josh Allen would have to be on a new team, new weapons, new everything, and then you can have that argument. But if he was to have a bad season, then I especially with those things that would happen, then I don't think people would give him. They might, how people on social media, but I think for the most part, people would give him that benefit of the doubt because he's been such a good quarterback the last few years. Like, as opposed to Russ, where you're at a new place, you're not getting that same luxury because you're at, like you say, whatever. Like I said before, whatever happened in Seattle doesn't necessarily matter anymore.
Yeah, and he's got 2 number 2 wide receivers. I don't think they have a clear-cut number 1 alpha wide receiver.
Exactly. But yeah, coaching does matter. I mean, I think especially as he gets older, like, you need somebody that can help out with mechanics, because he's honestly, like, he doesn't run as much as he used to, and obviously age has a little bit to do with that. But as you get older, you need to work on a little bit of mechanics and things of that nature. That's why I feel like they're going to try to bring in Sean Payton or maybe a Jim Harbaugh or something like that. Somebody that can help work out with his mechanics too.
No. Stay away from Jimbo.
Hey,
stay away from Jim, dog. Don't put that out there.
I knew Sterling was going to jump on that fast. Don't touch him.
Jim Harbaugh would be the coach of the Vikings if they had hired him. They decided they wanted to be this guy last year, but they decided not to. So, like, let's not act like he didn't interview for NFL jobs. Like,
he did. But exactly. Listen, I don't need you putting that out there in the airwaves.
I'm not putting it out. I'm telling you, like, the Colts are going to try to interview Jim Harbaugh for their head coaching job, whether he takes it or not. He shouldn't take the coach job.
He shouldn't take any NFL job.
Yes, he should.
Stop the cap.
No, I'm not capping it up. That man can coach in the NFL. Like, but I don't think he should be the coach of the Colts, though. Like, that's a bad situation.
And I shouldn't be the coach of the Colts. Who wants that job? I mean, it's bad right now.
Well, it's still 1 to 32.
It's still 1 to 32, but
still and you get a chance to pick your quarterback. So
you get to party with Jim Irsay, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean, you get a chance to pick your quarterback, but you get a chance to pick your quarterback with a limited selection right now. Like, it's not like he can go there and be like, all right, I want Patrick Mahomes. You can't pick your quarterback.
I mean, like drafting.
Right,
but I mean, like, the guys coming out the draft, and that's what I mean by limited. Like, the guys coming out the draft, do you see anybody in the draft? Now, I ask both of you because I don't watch college as much as either of you. Do you see somebody coming out the draft that you're like, this is a generational talent? I need this dude on my squad.
No. Generational talent, no, but I like Bryce Young. I do like Bryce Young. I think he would be. I think he'd be a added benefit for them, and definitely an improvement for what they have now.
Yeah, I think Bryce Young is dope, but there's a quarterback that y'all need to check out from Stanford that I think could.
I like him too.
Yeah, he's pretty dope, man. CJ Stroud, I'm not really a big fan of, to be honest. But if you guys are really interested in him, his name is Tanner McKee, quarterback,
Yes.
Stanford. He's 6'6", 230. He's got a rocket arm. I feel like, he's not the most NFL in terms of the quarterbacks. Just the top 5. I would say he's probably second in terms of ready for the NFL besides Bryce Young. So I really like him. I think the coach would have a good chance to get him. I think CJ Stroud, I think he just wants to be a pocket passer. Will Levis has the best ceiling, but it's going to take time.
Yeah.
You disagree?
I'm not a big fan of Will Levis at all. I do like his silly. He has a rocket arm, but it kind of reminds me of like a little bit not Josh Allen, but Zach Wilson a little bit. Although he has more experience than Josh did coming out. So that kind of does remind me. Like he has the intangibles that people are looking for. Also like Anthony Richardson too, but he's very raw.
Very raw.
Yeah, those are guys. I think Levis and Richardson are guys that you're gonna have to sit for a few years. Like I think Bryce Young is a guy that you can start right away, and he may take his lumps, but I think he'll be better for it later on.
Yeah.
All right, we ain't even talk about the AFC East yet. Like we 25 minutes in, and we ain't even talked about the AFC East. So let's before we get to, because obviously Antoine covers the Jets, Sterling and I cover the Bills. So before we get to both of those games, let's talk about this Patriots and Dolphins game. And I guess even before we talk about the Dolphins game, we can talk about the Tua injury, the situation as far as 2, I say 3 concussions for the year. Let's talk about what do you think this means for, I think his year is over, obviously, but what do you think this means for his career? And then what do you think this means for the Dolphins as an organization going forward? And then we can talk about the game. Let's start with Strohs on this one, because me and Twan we've been going at it about this Russell Wilson thing.
So as far as Tua goes, I think they should sit him. I think it's disrespectful to even consider playing him. I think to his family, I think you gotta, we learned from Mike Tomlin, about protecting players from themselves. To me, this seems like another one of those situations where, man, like from the events that have taken place with Tua, it's just best to just ride it out, man, and just not suit up this year, kind of get things together, get your body right. There's no need to put so much pressure on your future because of concussions. I just think that's I don't think that's being a good steward of your body, nor of the franchise.
Yeah, the question isn't like I think everybody agrees with like sitting here for the rest of the year, at least for the regular season. I don't know. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs at this point, but that's a whole nother conversation. I think long term, you had people like you had Troy Aikman retire because of concussions. You had Steve Young, same thing, retire early because of concussions. Right. So, yeah, you're already 3 in. And then not only that, he already had injury concerns coming into the league anyway, and that's not even talking about concussions. Now you're talking about a guy that's not very big, has been fragile since he's gotten to the league, and now he's having all these head injuries. If you're the Dolphins, what do you do? Like, how are you, you're trying to, assess your long-term situation at quarterback. You can pick up his 5th-year option, but again, you may be back in this situation trying to figure out a quarterback, scenario like a couple of years, because you can't trust the guy who has, he's had a history of injuries. So, I wish him well. I hope he gets, healthy and he comes back soon. But the fact of the matter is, I think the Dolphins may be looking for a quarterback, maybe not this year, but in the years to come too, because they don't, remember, they don't have a 1st-round pick either. So just kind of keep that in mind as well.
I guess for me, like the thing is, the NFL is so heavy, every year it's like player safety, and then concussions. We're talking about CTE, and we're talking about new helmets, and they got the linemen wearing these, like the bubble helmets. I don't know if maybe that's probably the wrong word for them, but y'all know what I'm talking about.
Guardian caps.
I just call them the bubble. I'll call them bubble. they out there, but they do all of these things to make sure they change the kickoff, so that way the running start isn't as fast. So that way, hopefully, it takes some of the impact away and all of this. They change all of these rules, and then week 3, you let Tua do what he does and come back on the field. Now, regardless of the game and I don't care about the outcome of that game. What I'm saying is he was wobbling on the field at the end of the second quarter. It was a visible. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be a CTE specialist. You don't have to be a concussion specialist to see that the dude was literally doing a stanky leg on the field at the end of the second quarter. They let him back in the game. Then he gets concussed against the Bengals.
On a short week, by the way.
Short week. Then you come back now here, and this happens. I believe it happened end of the second quarter again, or early third quarter.
Early third quarter, yeah.
They let him back in the game. He finishes the game out. Then you end up in concussion protocol. Are you kidding? So it's like, is the NFL really as committed to head injuries and all that stuff as they say they are? Like, I don't know. To me, that's the conversation.
Well, they have spotters for that, but I guess they're not doing their job. Well, but then again, also, I think that also on the team too, because they're supposed to see all of this. And I mean, I saw the hit like live time, and then honestly, I didn't think much of it at the time. And then now did you think about it, and then his performance during the second half, and then all of a sudden he's back in concussion protocol. They say he didn't display any symptoms during the game, which I don't know.
Believe it.
I don't necessarily believe that either.
You see the way he played the second half.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know what to believe with this, this training staff, because they're the same training staff that let him go back out there in the first place against the Bills. So somebody needs to be held accountable. I don't know who that is.
For real.
Like, I don't know if it's their medical staff. Somebody needs to be fired. Like, seriously, because you're allowing this man to go back on the field and have 3 concussions like this is, they're doing him a disservice. They really are. So I really truly hope, he'll be all right and he can get back on the field soon. Hopefully next year at some point.
Steros, you want to see him back?
Yeah, I would like to. I mean, he's the dude loves football. I just don't want to see him hurt long term. I would love to see him come back and play. Hell, for the Bills, that'd be great. But I think they're going to be in the running for a quarterback here in the next couple of years. I mean, when you have 2 stud wide receivers like that, and just the way he plays the game, I mean, what does he really offer you? Like, I think he's a middle of the road quarterback. There's nothing about him that's special. And since he's coming in the league, he had a hip injury. He's kind of, he's been injured since he's been in the leagues. So, every Sunday that passes that they see Justin Herbert, they got to be sick to their stomach.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted Joe Burrow, but obviously that wasn't going to happen. So, yeah, they made the choice to take Tua, and, now they, regretting it, I'm sure. Well, somebody's regretting it.
Yeah.
I want him to have a long, healthy career.
Yeah, I think everybody does.
But realistically, what I'm saying is to have 3 concussions, 2 concussions and possibly 3 concussions in 1 year. I just don't see how somebody can expect to have an extended career with that type of trajectory. Because, I mean, like I said this about Mitch Morse last week, going up against the Bears. Before we played the game against the Bears, I said, look, Mitch Morse has had another concussion. This is now 6 in his 8-year career. 6 in 8 years. This is 3 in 1 year for Tua. So to me, it's like, I don't know. I look at head injuries. So especially once you start talking about like these players dying earlier and earlier, and then you find CTE. You know what I'm saying? Like once you do, because you can't find it, at least from what I know. I don't know if any new reports have come out, but from what I know, you can't really tell CTE is there until you pass away. And everything that we find out about these young players passing away, the CTE and these head injuries and these, I don't want that to be Tua, man. And I get it. He's a Dolphins player, whatever. So throw all of that out the window for a minute. I don't want Tua's. He has a life, man. Like, you a young dude, live life.
Yeah, he's married. He got a kid now. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you just don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to see somebody go through that. So yeah, I hope he is able to play a long career, but at some point you definitely have to do what's best in your best interest for your long-term health.
And I got a question for y'all. So whatever they come out and say, the team I'm talking about, how are we going to trust it? So if they come out and say, hey, Tua doesn't, he cleared concussion protocol and he could play. I mean, I think, the team doctors and the powers that be, they kind of screwed it up to where I don't think people are going to give them the benefit of the doubt. So, like, where does the NFL step in and like make sure that these protocols and everything is like, legit?
Well, I think they have an investigation right now, so that's another reason why I don't think he's going to play again, because when they're investigating like that, it's kind of like, yeah, it's no way they're going to put him back on the field, at least not during these last 2 games. Now, beyond that, I don't know, but there's no way they can put him back out there when the NFL is clearly investigating for the second time, mind you. This season, they're investigating something within the Dolphins organization in regards to that.
All right, well, let's talk about this game. Let's talk about the game. So the Dolphins, and first of all, the Patriots are the favorite in this game. They're home. The Patriots are a favorite. Tua's gone, so maybe that's the reason. But I feel like even with Teddy Bridgewater, I feel like once you have weapons like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, to me, they make every – because last year nobody thought Tua was an MVP candidate or a Pro Bowler or all-pro type caliber player. This year, people have those thoughts because of the numbers that they put up. So do you think it's fair, or do you think it's justified that New England is the favorite since Tua's out?
Who asked? I guess I'm talking.
Whichever.
So I'll go ahead. Yeah, I think so. I like the Patriots defense. I think that's what it boils down to. Like, offensively, we know what they are. They're mediocre. They're, sometimes they can look pretty decent, especially with their running game. But, Matthew Judon, and then their offensive line at times. The Dolphins, it has gotten better, but I feel like Matthew Judon is gonna, be able to eat a little bit against that offense, and I think that's what it boils down to, and they may be able to create some turnovers that way. So I think I don't expect a high-scoring game between these teams. It might be like 2017, but yeah, I do like the Patriots to win this game, and I like for them to. I think they're gonna go into Week 18. If they win, then they beat the Bills, and then they'll be in the playoffs. If not, then they'll be sent home. But yeah, I definitely think I do think they're gonna end up winning this game, and the Dolphins are gonna end up losing their 5th straight game.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. For a team that has like star power, I believe, on their defense, man, they are not playing well. They're not playing well. You go get Bradley Chubb. What has he really done since he's been here? Only a couple sacks.
Nothing.
Right. And so,
Nothing.
And they gave him a lot of money too, by the way.
Right, yeah.
So, and y'all talking about Russell Wilson. Talk about Chubb the way y'all talking about Russell Wilson. Sorry.
So to y'all's point earlier, coaching does matter. And I think, Mike McDaniel, although I think he's an offensive genius and upcoming, offensive mind in this league, I still think, situationally, I think he's still trying to find his way. He's still trying to find his groove. But this defense, they definitely need some help. But yeah, I like the Patriots in this game. I feel like their defense, they don't have the star power, and they typically never do, but they are just sound. This where coaching matters. Bill Belichick has these guys ready to play. I'm interested to see how much they rely on the run game, though. I would love to see both of these teams rely on the run game more. I think Miami can really run the ball when they actually try to. The problem is just like the Raiders. The Raiders go away from passing the ball in the second half. The Dolphins stop running the ball in the second half, and it's just why do you do that?
Hold on, Tua's out. Are you telling me I should probably start Jeff Wilson this weekend though? Because I'm in the championship. You know what I'm saying? Like I need, because you know what I'm saying? Like
they also have Mostert too.
We're saying Raheem Mostert,
yeah. One of those two, I feel like should have a big day. Like you got to be able to run the ball.
Which one? That's the question.
That's the question. Yeah.
Jeff Wilson's running back 1, and when he's healthy, so if he's healthy, he's going to get the majority of the carries. But Raheem Mostert has played really well in mop-up duty in his absence. So yeah, they got to run the ball, man. That's the only way. And without Tua, that's the only way the Dolphins, I feel, can even hang in this game, like you said. And this is not going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to come down to coaching. I take Bill Belichick in this game.
All right. I guess for me, when I look at this game, I still feel so. First, I agree with what you said, Sterling, about the coach McDaniels. I like McDaniels. It's something to me. It's something to be said that literally 4 weeks ago, the conversation was, can the Dolphins win the division? And now all of a sudden it's like, you know what I mean? Like in 4 weeks, They've lost back-to-back games, and now all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, he's a rookie head. Like the conversation's changed completely. And actually, earlier this week, I was in a live with I'm sure most people who are listening know the dude Smokey. I forget his name, Nick Smokes or whatever.
Nicky Smokes.
Yeah.
I was in on one of his lives, and the fans, man, like they were completely switching up on Tua. Completely. It was like, it was like, yo, he lied about his head injury. He's not durable. We don't want him. Trade for Lamar Jackson. Like bro, when I tell you they're going in, I don't know what to say. But for me, when it comes to McDaniels, I do think that he's going to be a good coach. I like what he brings. Like if it wasn't the fact that he coached the Dolphins, I would probably say some real negative things about him. But you get what I'm saying? Like it's the Dolphins.
Right.
But outside of the Dolphins, it's like, yo, this dude, he got an energy that people appreciate. The players get it. Like some fans talk about, oh, he wears glasses. He looks like a dork. Okay, whatever. Guess what? The players respect him. The players speak highly of him. I saw certain clips between him and Tua that made me say, like, yo, this is what I want for Josh. I don't know what Sean McDermott's conversations are, so I'm not saying replace Sean McDermott, but you know what I mean? Like the relationship they have, the way they're able to talk, the way they joke with each other, it's a camaraderie. I like what McDaniels brings. I just don't know if I don't know if Tua's gonna be able to last, man. And I said that before the concussions. You talk about his hip injuries, and you talk about, remember a couple years ago, man, he came off the hip injury. Then he played the Buffalo Bills in week 2, and the Bills knocked him out for like 6 weeks. And then when he came back, they were playing yo-yo with him and Fitzpatrick. You get what I'm saying? Like, so he's just always been injury. I don't want to call him injury prone because it's a different type of injury, but there's always been something physical with him.
Well, it was a tightrope injury at Alabama too, like in his ankle. So it's always been something with him. So I hope he can stay healthy. Like it would be good to see him continue to try to get better in the league. But especially with a guy he's not a big guy anyway. Right. So it's going to be. I have my doubts at this point.
All right. Well, so how do you? Did you both tell me how the game's going to go?
Who's we both picked the Patriots. Yeah, I guess you're taking the Dolphins.
I did take the Dolphins. Actually, I did.
Because that's only because this is fantasy football.
No. I'm lying. I took the Patriots. I'm lying.
Yeah, I think the well, I think the Patriots are going to make the playoffs somehow, but we'll get to that later.
Oh, stop. We can't have that. We can't.
I will give you I will get to that once we talked about the Cincinnati Bills game.
All right, bet.
All right. Well, because I promised y'all before we went on, I was like, this is gonna be a shorter show. It's gonna be 45 minutes. We're 42 minutes in. So let's talk about the Jets in the Seattle game. Let's get done with that, and then let's get to the Bills game. Yeah. I'm sorry. So let's do it. Jets, Seattle. What's happening? Twine, you could lead this, and then your opinion is the end all be all, and then we'll get to the Bills game.
Basically, what it's going to come down to: can the Jets run the ball? If they haven't been able to run the ball, they didn't run the ball well against Jacksonville. They had 66 yards rushing. And a lot of that was like Chris Strebler coming in for Zach Wilson. So I really don't necessarily count that. And then against the Lions, they didn't run the ball. They only had 50 yards rushing. If they're not able to run the ball against Seattle, who's 31st against rushing defense, then I don't see them winning this game at all. No matter if Mike White, starts or not. So which he will, but I like the Jets to win this. But I don't feel necessarily too comfortable about that, especially going in a hostile environment.
I hate the Jets.
Well, you hate every team in the AFC East, so that's not really saying a whole lot.
Well, no, but I mean, you see the way I talk about the Dolphins, though. Like, I hate the Dolphins, but I respect the Dolphins. It's like it's a different conversation. It's like I really I like McDaniels. I like Tua. I think Tyreek Hill is one of the dopest wide receivers in the league. So, like, I can say positive things about the Dolphins. I can't stand the Jets, man. Like, there's nothing about the Jets. They bums, man. Like, they've been bums for a long time, and they've been talking like they not bums. They bums, man.
Not the players. You mean the fans?
players and the fans.
No, the players aren't talking about that.
I like Joe Douglas's drafts the past few years. He's been knocking it out of the park, man. They got some dudes over there.
You know what? I wrote that earlier this year. You're right. That's the only positive thing I can say about them. They had some good drafts, especially this last year. I love Sauce Gardner. I love Sauce. Like I love Sauce, and I love Breece Hall.
Garrett Wilson is good, playing well too.
Garrett Wilson is probably offensive player of the year in the AFC. So I have some things. But overall, man, I hate the Jets. And you know what? I also hate the Jets because I feel like, you know, you and I have this argument, this little fake argument all the time. How y'all just gonna steal our name when y'all stealing tax-wise? Like y'all want to live in Jersey but claim New York. You can't do that. That's like me, you know what I'm saying? Like, so people in Buffalo, you know, I'm not even gonna get into the street talking Buffalo, but it's like claiming a certain area that you're not really from.
Well, Buffalo, I mean, to be completely honest, I mean, the Bills don't play in Buffalo technically.
The Bills play in New York State.
But they don't play in Buffalo, though.
They play in the suburb of Buffalo. Is East
Well,
Rutherford a suburb of New York?
Yeah, it is, technically.
It's actually not. It's a suburb of a city in New Jersey.
But it is technically. Yes, it is. It is.
No, it's a suburb.
It's just because it's in another state.
Like it's in another state.
But you can have you ever heard of a city being in two different states? Like, I mean, you can do that too. It's still just because it's in a different state doesn't necessarily mean it's not a suburb.
Kansas City, if it happened in Kansas City, I would go there because you actually have two cities named Kansas City. So I would be like, you know what, you're right. You Kansas City, Missouri. I get you. Nah, you can't be in New York.
Rock Hill is a suburb of Charlotte, North Carolina. Kind of the same thing. So I mean, I get it. Like, yeah, I get it. I get it.
There's only one.
Well, Bills just want to. Yeah, y'all just want to be the only team in New York. Like, y'all just want to claim that.
We don't want to. The fact is, it is. We are the only team in New York.
But where you gonna build a football stadium in New York City? Like, just tell me that though.
We had this discussion before, and I know you said, well, Hove, you know, it is smaller for basketball. That thing is large, bro. Like, that thing is major. Yeah, anyway, we can move on. We can move on because the Jets are bums, and you just want to give love to your voice.
It ain't my boys. Like I mean, I'm just telling you what it is. Like, okay, let's get to the game. That everybody
he don't want to claim East Rutherford, man. He don't want
to. East Rutherford, is that how they do it out there? East.
I have no idea. I just go out there for games, so I have no idea. That's the only time I spend time in East Rutherford, so I don't know.
Oh, they're gonna come get you for that, fam. They're gonna come get you for that.
They go or me
because I don't spend time in East Rutherford.
Yeah, dog. That's your set, bro. You got to rep your set.
I'm from North Carolina. It's not really. All right, let's get to the Bills.
He said, "I'm from North Carolina, man."
P.D. Pablo down there.
Hey, let's get to the Bills.
Shout out to J. Cole. All right, let's get to Bills Bengals. The Bills are favored, but not by much. It was a 1.5 point spread. It's one of those games where I feel like everybody, you know, if you talk to them on Monday, they'll pick the Bills. Tuesday is the Bengals. Wednesday is the Bills. I feel like it goes back and forth. Let's talk about this game, man. I feel like this is probably one of the most evenly matched games and schedules, like records, that you can remember at the end of the season on Monday Night Football going into the playoffs. And I think they actually are going to break a record for like the most wins or the best record for both teams going into the game in NFL history or Monday Night Football history. Let's start with Sterles here, man. What just you know what? I'm not even going to ask a question. What are your thoughts about the game?
I'm nervous about the game. You know, I think when it comes to matchups, I think these two teams match up very well with each other. You know, part of me wants to give the edge to the home team, but you know, there's been rumblings this week about how the Bills won't be able to run the ball on the Bengals. I think they might be able to exploit at least the edges with James Cook. I think this will be a big James Cook game. But you know, I think it's going to come down to which quarterback plays the best. I mean, that's how it is with Mahomes and Allen, Burrow, Mahomes. And this game will be no different. It's going to be tough for the Bills, but I feel like, you know, the NFL and media needs to put some respect on the Bills' names because, the Bills have been playing in some terrible weather games.
Mhm.
And it was like this last year, kind of the same thing. People just don't want to, just because the Bills were favored, I feel like for most of the season, people don't want to, they just, they want to count them out. So yeah, the Bengals are riding in this game with a 7-game win streak. The Bills are at 6. I feel like roster wise, I think the Bills are the better roster, better team. But again, it's going to come down to matchups, and it might, quarterback playing coaching.
Wait
So
a minute. Hold on, Sterles. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm gonna let you finish. You see me on my Kanye. I'm gonna let you finish. Twan, why you got this like little meme mug going on?
I didn't want to look at him, bro.
I'm like what? Like some of the first of all, you talk about how need to put respect on the Bills. I feel like everybody is respecting the Bills.
No,
people think
they're not.
Who's disrespecting the Bills?
Everybody.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Man.
They're the
well, do me a favor. When we get up, I'm talking about for this game. I ain't talking about the AFC favorite. I ain't talking about playoffs. I'm talking about for this game. Send me the positive stuff you seen, because it's been pissing me off. I can't say piss on this. I gotta edit. Now I gotta edit. God, dog, I gotta edit. Man, send it to me.
It's still one game. Like people, they are still the favorites to win the AFC and get to the Super Bowl. Nobody's disrespecting them. Just because you say they're not going to win this game doesn't mean they're not going to accomplish their goals. They just say they're not going to win this game. Like there's no disrespect.
Okay. So
nobody's
saying
saying they can't win this game. Like,
why are they saying Josh Allen is so turnover prone when he has just as many interceptions as Patrick Mahomes?
Well,
Joe Burrow.
I hadn't heard that actually.
Yeah, they're knocking him like he's just the interception king. Like, I'm like, bro, like, whoa. And then they talk about turnover worthy plays. Like, that's a stat. Like, get the hell out of here.
It ain't even a real
That ain't even a real stat. Not saying that's not saying that's you, Twan, but I'm just saying in general.
Like Pro Football Focus, yeah.
Bro,
because you know what?
Lame, dog.
I hate that because it's like every play technically is turnover worthy. Like if I'm a running back and I'm running through, if I get hit on the head, or if you hit me with your helmet, it's a turnover worthy play. But if I don't fumble, it's not a fumble. I just hate the way they make up these stats. Like, oh, well, Josh Allen rolled out and threw a turnover worthy play. He almost threw an interception. No, the dude just reached and it went over. He dropped it in the bucket like an OG is supposed to, because that's what Josh Allen does. But let's get back to the game.
He's a gambler.
Yeah.
He's a gambler.
He is. Now that I would take if they said Josh Allen is a gambler, and because to me, when you talk about certain greats, now you already know how I feel about Brett Favre. I got a lot of negative things to say about him, but when he was a football player, he was a gambler. He threw more interceptions during his career than anybody in history. That's why he had the record. But he also threw more touchdowns, and he also won games, and he was great. There's a way that certain guys play the game that you just got to respect it. Strauss, finish your point. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I feel like I said what I needed to say.
I just felt like Antoine was being real disrespectful. He was down there looking
I was just saying like, oh well, everybody disrespected the Bills.
They are.
Like, what? And then also the talent. I don't know if the Bills have more talent than the Bengals. I think the Bengals have a lot of talent. Like especially on offensive end, like I don't know. I think this
offensively, but I'm talking about the entire roster. You feel like from top to bottom, the Bengals have a better roster than the Bills?
It's close.
No. I didn't say close. I said who has the better roster? The Bills.
I don't know. I think it's about even. I think it's about even. I really do. Like, I think defensively, I think the Bills have the better roster. I think offensively, I think the Bengals have the better roster. So, I think it's even. I think you're split.
I guess we're gonna see.
I think just because a team wins doesn't necessarily mean they have better talent. It just mean they might be the better coach team. But I think what it boils down to is like, can the Bengals be able to run the ball against the Bills defense? If they can, and if they're not throwing the ball like 45 times, Joe Burrow, then if they are throwing the ball that many times, I think they're in huge trouble, because I think, as you talked about, he's going to be susceptible to throw interceptions. But if they're able to run the ball effectively, they take some pressure off of Burrow, I think they're going to be in good shape too. I know who you're picking.
I know who
y'all picking too.
He a hater.
No, I'm not a hater. I think the Bengals are I think this is a AFC championship preview. I really do. Like, I think these two teams are. I mean, no disrespect to the Chiefs, and I think Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the football right now. But yeah, I think these two teams are playing at an elite level, and I think they're the best two teams in the AFC right now. So I would not surprise me either way if we see these two teams play again in a month.
If that's the case, I would love for the Bills to lose this one and beat them in the AFC Championship game.
Well, that's what I have happen. That's what I have happening. Like, I think the Bengals are going to win it. I think they may get the top seed in the AFC, but I think the Bills end up winning. When it's crunch time and they need to and get to the Super Bowl.
Man, I hope you're right about that. I don't know, man.
I just feel like Twan's a hater, and that's where I'm gonna go.
I'm a hater. I picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl, but yeah, I'm a hater.
I'm talking about this game.
Oh my God! Like,
you so farsighted.
I'm not picking.
You ain't got to pick us every week. I didn't pick us every week, and I cover the Bills. But this game, so you just said you feel like they got the better offense. We got the better defense. Yeah. I feel like the whole cliche is defense wins championships and defense is better. I feel like the gap between the offenses are so slim that it's tough to be like they got the better offense. We got now they probably. I do think it's slim because when you look at over the last few, see that, and that's where the disrespect comes. I don't think they got the type of offense. They scored 22 points against the Patriots.
The Patriots have a really good defense. The Patriots have a good defense. So let's not.
They do,
and the Bills do too.
That's not.
The Bills do too.
They're not no slouch in that area. No, I feel like look who's the second best receiver on the Bills right now?
Gabriel Davis.
Who's the second best receiver on the Bengals?
T.
Higgins. Exactly. And you got Tyler Boyd too as well. Like, that's what I'm saying. Their depth.
Okay, but I'm not arguing. I'm not arguing that. I feel like they have a better offense. I said the gap between the two. I don't feel like it's a gap where you're looking at the Bills offense and it's like, man, they dropped like 8 spots. I don't think it's that far. But when you're talking defensively, I think the Buffalo Bills have a better defense than the Bengals.
Absolutely.
And you have to factor in the fact that offensively, the Bengals just lost their starting tackle.
Correct.
This is not going to be. Absolutely. This is not going to be like what happened over the last few weeks. They got to figure out now is new communication. It's a new and this dude. We ain't gonna go there because you know what? Twan's a hater. I'm not a hater.
You know what
I'm saying? Because I can't wait for the chop up next week when I be like, so Twan, what was that? That's where I'm at. Next week I'm gonna be like, so Twan, what was that?
I think it's gonna be a close game. It could go either way. I just like the Bengals in this game. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
That's all right.
Man, y'all had me go an hour when I promised y'all 45 minutes. That's how bad Twan hating on the god doggone Bills right now.
So you gonna have all these people coming at me on Twitter? No,
yeah, they are. Yeah,
come at Twan. Come at what's your handle? What's the handle?
It's my name. It's just my name.
Antoine Staley. If y'all need me to spell it, I'm gonna tweet it tomorrow. Nothing else. I'm just gonna tweet his name, so y'all gonna know exactly.
Hey, his DMs are open too, y'all. Get him in the
DMs are open. Get at him. No, I'm messing with y'all. Twan is real about the Bills. He's one of the things I can say about Twan though is like regardless of what team he covers and regardless of who he's with, like he tries to just spit the truth. So I'm just messing with him tonight. I try to get under his skin and get him I try to get him, and he don't let me ever get him. I try to razzle him a little bit, little razzle dazzle, and he don't fall for it. Styros, why don't you let everybody know what you got going on this weekend, man? It's a big game this weekend. I know you got some good content coming.
Yeah, man. So Intentional Grounding will be on Monday. It'll be on Monday. But I'm gonna be honest. Like I told you, I'll begin the show. I'm gonna be glued to the TV on Saturday at 4 p.m. when Michigan takes on TCU.
All right, Twan.
Go blue.
You got any good go blue? You got any good articles coming or anything happening this weekend that you want to talk about?
You follow me at Antoine Staley. Just like I'll be out in Seattle covering the Jets Seahawks game, and just talk about that Geno Smith and his revenge game against the team that drafted him actually. So that'll be really interesting.
Real quick, we about to get out of here. I promise. I wanted to ask you though. I read this article and I thought it was a really interesting article. They said that this might be a game where, because I feel like a lot of people feel like Seattle is going to move on from Geno Smith, which might be stupid in my opinion. But I'm going to send you the article. I see your face. I'm going to send you the article. They were saying that Geno Smith could possibly end up back in New York.
I probably not likely. Just from what I understand. Although
Okay.
I think the coaching staff respects him though, but I think they would have other veteran quarterbacks that they would go after. But it's no disrespect to him. But I mean, if he comes available, then maybe. But the Seahawks would be ridiculous. They'd be crazy to let him go.
Would be, yeah.
Although I don't necessarily. I mean, if they want to draft somebody, because they're gonna have 2 first-round picks, so if they want to draft somebody too, then I wouldn't be against that either.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, yeah, I just wanted, like I said, I wanted to bring that up because I read that article and I was just like, you know what, that's interesting. Like I wouldn't have put that together or made. Anyway, all right, y'all know how we do it over here with Buffalo Rumblings. It's your boy Jay Spence the King. Y'all love each other, take care of each other, live in peace, and as always, stay positive, test negative. Antoine Staley, throws for the throws. It's your boy Jay Spence the King. Go Bills.
Go Bills.